Okay. We are live from Berlin here in Full Node Studio. My name is Sebastien and I'm here with
Friederike Ernst
and
Eduardo
from DappNode.
DappNode, yeah.
How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having me here.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us on such short notice.
Always.
So this is a bit of a special Epicenter episode, not only because we're all here together at Full Node Studio, also because we're doing a live stream, which is not something we usually do, but also because we're here in Berlin during Dappcon, which we'll talk about. And Dappcon has been on a forced hiatus for the last couple of years, obviously because of COVID, and also we are here on the day. In the next hours, the merge will happen, and so it's a very special time to be here in Berlin. Before we get started and chat about everything that's been happening on this week and what's happening in the next couple of days, I'd like to first tell you about our sponsor this week. Tallyho is redefining the wallet as a public good. You can think of it as a community-owned alternative to MetaMask. Tallyho offers a much smoother experience and is compared to other wallets. It has an impressive UI where users can easily see all of their account balances at once and swap between assets within their wallet at a much lower price. The wallet also offers one of the best ledger integrations and full ENS and UNS domain name support. 2 weeks ago, they launched their community pledge with over 70,000 signers, dedicating their commitment to defending Web3, and you can still sign the pledge on the site. They recently just added their first sidechain, Polygon. On Tallyho, Polygon support is now built in automatically and is ready to use without the need to go through any step-by-step manual integration. With Tallyho, you can enter the metaverse with a Web3 wallet that is fully community-owned and operated, and it's the first wallet that is also a DAO. Tallyho's commitment to community ownership and public goods stretches beyond the wallet. In January, it became the sponsor of Ether.js, an open source JavaScript library, helping developers connect to Ethereum. And they recently announced a pledge to commit 2.5% of the total token supply to Gitcoin Aqueduct. So head to tally.cash to redefine your Web3 wallet experience.
Oh, that's quite a mouthful.
Yes. Let's maybe first talk a little bit about Dappcon, which is still going on today, over a couple of kilometers from here. So what's Dappcon, and what's the significance of Dappcon 2022?
Dappcon, it's very much an Ethereum community conference, very much in the spirit of ECC and DevCon. We've actually had Dappcon twice before, in 2018 and 2019, and then we were going to have it on in 2020 and was cancelled because of COVID, and so we moved it to 2021. Was cancelled again because of COVID, and now it's 2022, and finally we're back. We're in a new venue by the Spree. It's
a great venue.
I like the venue.
Yeah.
I just renewed for next year. So basically we'll be there again next year.
Awesome.
So Dappcon will happen again 2023. So basically it's lots of talks about Ethereum infrastructure and dApps, and it's very builder heavy. There's not a lot of business development, which I personally really like.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting sort of developments, and which also is because of this 2-year break, is that the last Dappcon there was no Gnosis chain.
There was no Gnosis chain.
Exactly.
Even last Dappcon, there would not have been a Gnosis chain, because Gnosis chain basically Gnosis and XDAI merged to create Gnosis chain in November of last year. So basically, it's been a crazy year for us. But the really nice thing is that Berlin used to be like this Web3 hub. And we lost a little bit of that, during COVID, and in the direction of Lisbon, which I'm still salty about, to be honest, because I have kids in school. I'm not gonna, pack up and leave. So basically, it used to be like this vibrant place, and after COVID, it's kind of slowly coming back. Basically, Full Node, our co-working space here, is almost fully booked again. So there's I think in October there'll be a 1-2 person office becoming available, but basically in principle it's fully booked. So basically this is Dappcon has historically been part of Berlin Blockchain Week, and we also brought that back this year.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a whole host of conferences in the next couple of days. So
East
basically,
Berlin.
East Berlin is going to happen, and it's DuneCon and ZK Hack and like a million side events. There's like too many parties to go to. There's one tonight at a swimming pool, which I feel like, it's from the cow protocol. So really, I ought to go, but I feel like I'm too old for this.
Yeah, I have very special feeling with Dappcon, because here it was the first time that I can publicly talk about DappNode, so I have this very special memory. But I really love this feeling of a small community. It's like a family at some point, and I really love this kind of conference in which you feel so comfortable talking with friends, sharing ideas, sharing new technologies, and this vibe is really amazing. I totally agree that I have the feeling that we lost a little this Berlin spirit during the pandemic, but I really want to see us a little is Berlin again, because it was amazing when the Web3 the Web3 Summit, Dappcon, Berlin, then it was Praga the last time, and yeah, I'm really happy to see it happening again and see that the next year is going also to happen. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was always a big fan of Dappcon, and coming to Berlin used to be like a regular thing for me. So like, I feel sometimes like I know more crypto people in Berlin than I do in Paris for some reason. But so yeah, it was great, and just like seeing everybody again and all these familiar faces that I hadn't seen in 3 years. And yeah, I'm also generally just excited about the Gnosis chain ecosystem. I mean, even though I'm, on a day-to-day more involved in Cosmos, I think the Gnosis chain ecosystem is like super interesting. Just like lots of great people, lots of people talking and working on things like governance and dApps. And so yeah, I think it's like a really cool ecosystem where like lots of actual stuff is being built. Talking to Patricio from POAP yesterday, and this was also his sentiment that, at the last Dappcon, we were talking about these like kind of prospective things that were going to happen, that were going to come into fruition in the next couple of years, and now they are. Like, people are actually building businesses, like using Gnosis chain and building actual use cases and like actual things that people use. So that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I totally feel that, and I think basically we've been through, in terms of decentralization and culture, I think we've been through a nadir. That it means value, right? So well, yeah. So basically, we've been kind of at a low point. So basically, I think kind of when people started building businesses, kind of re-centralizing, is easy in a way, right? So basically, kind of like the easiest way to build things is in a centralized fashion, even if it's on a blockchain. And I think kind of people, at least in my bubble, they've kind of just started kind of becoming wary of that, and kind of trying to head back into the re-decentralized direction.
Doubling down.
Doubling down on decentralization. And Edu, you've always been like on the, for everyone who's listening, who's not familiar with Edu. So Edu's building a company called DappNode, which is on the face of it, a hardware company, but really it's a software company. Exactly. It makes it really easy for you to stake at home. So basically it's kind of geared towards the, run your own node, run your own validator at home kind of crowd. And maybe you can tell us kind of how you've seen the last couple of years in terms of centralization and decentralization.
Yeah, good topic, to be honest. Yeah, the thing is, well, in DappNode, we usually have a lemma. We tell people that we decentralize until it hurts and centralize until it works. So that should be the way to work, right? We need to focus on decentralization and then make the things work. Obviously, if you go completely decentralized, there is something that needs to be built. So maybe you are not going to have a product never. But I think it's important to have this balance, and it's important to focus in the important part. I have the feeling that we are losing the decentralization at some point, For example, at the very beginning of DappNode, the first proof of content in 2017, we were able to resolve ENS domains with IPFS websites, and people didn't use it at all. So we lost that. And now, seeing all these things that happen and all these censorship things, is when people realize that we are losing our path in some way. So I see a lot of business growing and trying to follow the reverse path, centralize and then make it decentralized, but that's not working because at the end, decentralized is not easy. It's a real challenge, and that is why you need to have that in your mind from the very beginning. You need to focus on decentralization, see how it can work, and then if it's needed, try to centralize. But I have the feeling that we are changing our mind. I don't know why. Maybe new people in the community that doesn't have this feeling of decentralization, or maybe they don't realize of the importance of decentralization. So that is why I try to focus on education also, the importance of decentralization, the benefits of censorship-resistant networks, the importance of privacy, and that is why, try to educate people on that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, just to kind of spell it out, especially when you move to proof of stake, and basically lots of people don't really want to stake from home. They just delegate. You end up with a lot of large stakers, and basically that's not really decentralized network in terms of resilience. So basically, if it's just a number of people you kind of need to call to kind of shut it down, or that's
in terms of proof of stake, it's also a big issue, obviously. Right now, the top 5 staker control the 63% of the network. It's crazy. It's too much. And the thing that we have been seeing is that this number has grown. That means that we are not fixing that problem. The thing is, the problem is making even worse. And also from the point of view of the VPS or cloud providers, for example, Hefner recently banned crypto application on their servers. So that means that we are going to lose 50% of the nodes of the network because of that. Obviously, the people are going to move to another provider, but at the moment that we are centralizing our infrastructure in cloud provider or in big stakers, we are losing all the benefits that we can get from decentralized technology. And
without wanting to kind of, I mean, so I totally take your point. I think for Hetzner, it's only for shared instances, though. Basically, if you have your own server, you can do what you want. Short of
and they haven't been super. I mean, as far as I know, they haven't been like very explicit and clear about that. It's just been kind of like these hand wavy statements, right? Or have they come up with something more clear since?
And to be honest, I don't know no one that I start to suffering in, but they make an statement on the direction, and it's risky. I mean, maybe it's not something that can hurt us.
But my point of view on the Hetzner thing is that it's great. I mean, like, so we run validators at Interop. We run validators on Hetzner just because I used Hetzner and I liked it and it's quite cheap. But when I realized looking at the validator set in a lot of Cosmos blockchains, that something like the high percentage, like in the 50 to 60% of nodes on some chains were running on Hetzner, like we immediately said, like, we're moving away from Hetzner, not because they're kicking us out, but because we want to be on servers that other people are not on. So we're moving to like French service providers. So I actually think that the fact that Hetzner is kicking off, if it does in fact start closing accounts, that it would probably be a decentralizing factor. Now the flip side of that is, like, if everybody moves to AWS, like, that doesn't make it, it's even worse.
And Google Cloud.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, Hetzner's thing was a wake-up call to let people know that we are still centralizing in that sense. But I am also running nodes in Hetzner and DappNode. So I mean, I am not against VPS. It's just to try to balance the situation between providers, stakers. I think it needs to be space for all of us.
Yeah, and I mean, so basically what we've seen recently with the tornado OFAC enforcement action. Yeah. So we recently had I recently had an episode with Peter from Coin Center on the entire tornado thing, and that's where I learned that Alex is not actually held in connection with the OFAC thing, but apparently in the Netherlands there's a negligent money laundering law, which seems crazy because, I mean, every time you get money, you can't, I mean, if I sell you a chocolate bar, I shouldn't have to to query you to kind of ascertain that you have obtained the funds you're using to pay for that chocolate bar, you know, in a legitimate manner. So yeah, so it seems like it's very high burden.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether this will hold up, but apparently they have 100 days to kind of charge him, and they haven't yet.
Yeah. It's been months.
But yeah, obviously, kind of putting the tornado addresses on the OFAC list, that's been shocking, because I mean, it's never really happened to infrastructure before. I mean, it's happened to individual people or organizations. It's not happened to like technology. So, and I think there's a good chance that this will be revoked in due time. But I think what's really threatening to us right now is overcompliance. So basically, just too many people who just don't care and who don't want to bear the burden of, you know, carrying the risk of maybe being shut down and like something just because they didn't. So basically, just out of an abundance of caution, that general counsel say, yeah, you should just, you know, ban these accounts, kind of like, and then they do. And I think kind of over complying that way, as an ecosystem, as an ecosystem that is meant to be built on kind of permissionless innovation, that's kind of like the core value. That's appalling. And it's also, in a way, a way to kind of separate the good beans from the bad beans, right? Kind of just see who overcomplies without having to. And the people who don't overcomply, those are the people who are actually committed to the values.
Yeah, I think it was Karan, your general counsel I was speaking with this week, who was pushing for clear guidance on minimum compliance. Right. So
yeah, we would love to see that out of Adan.
Yeah.
I mean, Adan has been the most reliable of all the, you know, European lobbying formations, interest groups. Yeah, so I think basically having like some sort of playbook, like what do I actually have to do and what do other people do just because, you know, they don't care. I think that would actually be super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. What else did we have on the? We had a couple of things we wanted to hit on today. So we've kind of talked about Dappcon a little bit, veered off into some other topics. I mean, I think the merge is something that we should maybe touch on. Although we had some concerns about when this would come out and whether. So yeah, I think for those listening, if this comes out, if you're listening to this after the merge, please keep in mind this was recorded a few hours before the merge. So yeah, maybe from your perspective, because you run a company that helps people run their own nodes and their own validators. What is the significance of this to you, and how do you see this like affecting your business, but like long term the ecosystem?
And maybe give us a brief recap of what has happened so far. So basically, because basically the merge, we've been talking about this for 6 years, right?
Yeah.
So basically, maybe, and I think it's changed a lot during that time frame, and you were there for all of it.
Yeah,
so
more
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, all the things that have happened and to be here today, I mean, the roadmap of Ethereum has changed so many times that it's even hard to think about all the things that have changed. For example, I remember when you need to stake 1,500 ETH to be able to be a validator because of the signature of the validators. You were not able to aggregate all of them because of the technology, and then BLS happened and it changed everything. We moved to 32 ETH. And if I am right, I think Vitalik announced this in EthCon Toronto 2018. And that changed everything from the proof of stake perspective. Then when we decide to integrate, for example, the execution client into one shard, so we can get the execution client inside the proof of stake chain. That was another big change because we took all, or what we are taking all, and we continue in it right now. I think one of the most changing things was the Vitalik post related to the Ethereum rollup centric. That changed all the rules, I think, because at the moment where it was when rollups started to happening, and we realized the technology of zero knowledge can help a lot to increase the transaction per second. And then we realized also that the sharding with execution is something so complex that it could lead to having a less performant network. So it create a new paradigm in which we can now have data availability on sharding, and then the rollups can grow on top of it. And then now we need bridges. So we have changing all the ecosystem because of all of these.
New specs, new challenges.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dank sharding and the future of data availability is going to be another real challenge. But I think the feeling is that in Cancun, for example, we have that feeling that the merge is going to happen just right the corner, and 4 years later it's happening. I think that this is something that can change all the rules of everything. I have the feeling that we are part of the history of blockchain, and being in Berlin at that moment, the same place in which Ethereum born, is like magical, right? And also, from the DappNode point of view, we have the feeling that our community members feel part of this. I mean, if you are a home staker alone, it's like you are alone in your home, but the feeling is that we have is the community that all together are in that direction, and it's really important to be part of something, and I think that this is really nice also. Yeah, but the things have changed a lot. I mean, for example, during genesis of proof of stake, we even don't know when the withdrawal is going to happen, and we don't have that yet. The ecosystem is growing in terms of technology also, because now we are introducing vertical trees. That was a technology that 1 year ago maybe we don't know how to explore it. So everything is changing. But I also have the feeling that this is really strong because of the maturity of the technology we have evolved during the years. This is not just an idea of 6 months that just deliver. So yeah, the feeling is that we are making the roots of something new. That's really, really nice.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's been coming for so long, and now it's coming at really inopportune time, like at 6 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Full Node is going to be open all night. There's going to be war rooms here of kind of people kind of tracking the merge and making sure the core clients work and pick up. And
is there going to be like a screen like when Ethereum when Ethereum launched?
We should probably do that. We should probably set that up today. Yeah. I mean, we'll have basically it'll be a long night, so I think we have time to kind of set up stuff. And then at the merge, so there's this this artist, this musician who kind of synthesized the history of Ethereum into a musical composition. So basically, I may be paraphrasing this wrong, because basically my musical knowledge is zero. So basically, forgive me if I do. So I think he's kind of taken each block and kind of somehow calculated a musical note from it. So basically, there's like the number of blocks are the number of musical notes. It takes about a half hour to perform, and will be performed at the merge, because obviously this is kind of when like Ethereum proof of work ends. And it's
he's
kind of
performing
like,
it live.
He's performing it live here at Full Node.
Wow.
So basically 6:30 a.m. or something. Be here or be square. Yeah. So basically, it'll happen. It'll all happen, despite the very unfortunate timing in this Central European time zone. It's like should have been on the West Coast or something. It's like 9 p.m. That's like nice and cozy. Yeah. But no, it's all happening. And I mean, the office where Ethereum launched, it's no longer, I mean, basically it's no longer the ETH dev office. They moved out a couple of years ago. So basically, like the golden office and everything is gone. but maybe we can kind of have the merge here, and it'll be nice.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think this is a good place to have it. Like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have so many like eggs in the I mean, like I don't have so many eggs in the Ethereum basket in terms of like I'm not building anything on Ethereum. But yeah, it feels like really kind of nice to be here while it's happening. And
Yeah, I also remembering all the complexity that we have had added to the network also, because I still remember at the beginning when you can run a node in just laptop and then the chain started to grow. Now we have execution, consensus. We have a lot of pieces in the ecosystem. Now also the MEV boost is also a new piece, proposable separation. So from the point of view of a user, it has increased the difficulty to be part of the network. And that is why we run DappNode mainly, to try to remove that complexity from the users, to allow anyone to run a node. I think it's important that, because otherwise we are only going to have technical people around this, and this is not decentralization either. So trying to onboard as much as possible people, I think, is something very important for the future of Ethereum. And the thing is, we are making changes, making the network with a lot of things. A lot of new cryptography is making even harder, but it's worthy, obviously.
Yeah, let's talk about the new cryptography. So the new cool kid on the block, obviously, is ZK-based trustless bridges.
Mhm.
And you're involved in them too, because you have your fingers in everything you do.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, for me, bridges has been always a problem in the ecosystem, because you need to have operators, you need to have trust on them. It's always the weak piece of the network. We have seen several hacks in the last years because of that, because the bridges are not safe. I mean, I really would like to have this trustless solution happening. And I have the feeling that with this technology, we can start to create this bridge between different networks, for example, between Gnosis and Ethereum, because since we are sharing technology, sharing cryptography, it's even possible to create these bridges. So, for example, the thing is, the consensus client, according to the design, is able to have the state on smart contracts. So being able to have the state of other blockchain allows you to create proof of the state in other blockchain using TK technology. And that is game changing, right? Because you don't depend on no one. You only depend to someone publishing proofs. And this allows to create the trustless bridge that is
yeah, I mean, maybe to give some background on this. So I mean, we've had trustless bridges in the past, but they were all optimistic, right? So basically, it kind of they relied on people monitoring them and challenging the state if they think the transition was invalid. So basically, in a way, it was trustless, but in a game theoretical kind of way. Whereas the new type of bridges, the ZK light client bridges, they are trustless in in mathematical cryptographic way. And I mean that is it is a game changer. No?
Yeah, totally. I have that feeling. I mean, yeah, I have but going back to decentralization and decentralization until health, centralization until it works, it makes sense to have these bridges because they are needed. And but we saw that the current ones is hard to maintain. It has a lot of risks, and this is a game changer for sure, because you remove all these trust, all these insecurities, and you add just a connection between networks. And seeing the future of Ethereum to set up to be able to support several rollups and several TK EVMs is even more important to create this bridge in a trustless, because we are going to have a lot of connection between them, and that's a critical infrastructure point. So seeing how this new technology allow us to create these kind of things is really amazing. I am really excited about all of this, and really To be honest, I've been talking about this Trellis bridge with Jordi 3 years ago, how we can create a zero knowledge proof of Bitcoin inside Ethereum, validate a proof of work. It was crazy, but I mean, we have been thinking about that from several years, and this is going to change everything, or that is my feeling.
There's also going to be a panel I'm looking forward to very much this afternoon on zero knowledge bridges with Hodi and Alex from Meta Labs and Uma, and originally Vitalik was also slated to be on the panel, but unfortunately he's sick, so he called out. But I'm still very much looking forward to that, because I feel like this is the real new thing this year. So I mean, basically everything else that's kind of around, we've in principle had this for a long time. So for instance, I mean, if you look at DAOs, how much they're proliferating, and it warms my heart. It's fantastic. But basically DAOs, in the grand scheme of things, they're not new, right? So basically we all knew this was going to come at some point. There would be DAOs, and basically there would be large scale coordination. And basically, yeah, ZK bridges, super cool, so bullish.
I mean, coming from the Cosmos side, where we have IBC, which is potentially a protocol to send messages between chains, and IBC is made possible because every chain uses the same consensus algorithm, and so chains are able to validate the consensus of other chains, and so therefore, like, there's this trust minimized aspect there. I'm interested to seeing when we can, like, I think the thing that I'm really hoping for is to have some sort of like shared standards across like these different ecosystems. And so I understand that, like, from the point of view of Ethereum, it's difficult to, and EVM chains, it's difficult to implement IBC type consensus between all the different rollups, because they might have different assumptions about like finality and things like that. But yeah, I'm like really quite hopeful that protocols like things like composable finance and these cross-domain layers that allow liquidity to flow between ecosystems, but also allow instructions to flow with ecosystems, is going to be really important in the next couple of years. And ZK bridges, like, is part of the types of solutions that can flow into these more broad interoperability networks.
Totally. The thing is, or the feeling that I have is this technology is evolving a lot. Things that we thought that were impossible 1 year ago now are a reality. The CKVM, be able to have recursive stacks and be able to reproduce the state of Ethereum. I mean, we are just discovering this technology, and imagine that in the future you can use a zero knowledge proof to validate the state of 2 different networks, just using zero knowledge technology to connect them and in a secure manner. And the thing is, there is a lot of projects working on this direction. Zero knowledge, Spark, Midden, a lot of people are interested in this technology because it's a game-changing technology. It's not just because of the bridges. You can think further. You can think about privacy. You can think about identity. Be able to pass a KYC with a zero knowledge proof. These kind of things can change everything. Can change the world as we know. Oh, that is my feeling. I am totally bullish on ZK technology, and I think it's maybe we don't realize yet about all the potentials that this can have, not just for Ethereum, just for users. So really well in that.
Yeah, I mean, is it correct to assume that with these, I was talking to someone last week who's building like a ZK layer for interoperability, and looking at it from the user's perspective, what that would allow is essentially like, you could go on OpenSea and pay with any currency. Like, you could pay with like DOT or Atom or whatever, and like the user wouldn't know the difference, because the ZK bridge would be making those transactions sort of in the background and like doing all the swaps and everything in order for like OpenSea to finally receive like ETH or whatever like that it needs. Is that like the kind of the goal in the user experience, from the user experience side?
Yeah, I think maybe I'm wrong, but I have the feeling that right now we are not thinking too much in users. Because we have several chains, we have Gnosis chain, we have Ethereum, we have Avalanche, we have a lot of chains with different addresses in different networks. For the user, it's crazy to understand what's happening. We saw in the past people sending funds to an address in another network, and I mean, we need to fix that for sure. Usability should be another thing to start to work hard, because I've had the feeling that every day, since we are adding more technology, we are adding breaches, we are adding networks, we are making even harder for users, and try to abstract that complexity also from the user perspective and usage of the network is critically important. More the same critical that is the technology is that users can use it. Otherwise, it makes no sense to have the technology.
I 100% agree. So I moderated a panel last night about how to actually make blockchain improve the life of the many. And basically, I think the number one takeaway was we have to ship this to the normies. We have basically it's like if we're building technology for the same 1 million people worldwide, this is not gonna cut it. It's not gonna cut it. We need to make it easy to use, and basically it starts with the onboarding experience, right? I mean, you open a wallet and it says, yeah, these are the 12 words, never share them with anyone, don't lose them, or you'll actually lose access to all of your, before you've even done a single thing. It's like, what the fuck is this? I mean, it's been 10 years. Why do we still have this? It's like, yeah, I mean, we need account abstraction. We need to abstract everything away from the user. And I mean, if you look at the internet, it's a mess, in the back end, it's a complete mess. It's a miracle that the internet actually usually works. And we don't ask anyone to understand TCP/IP. Exactly. It's like no one knows how it works. It just works. And this is where we need to get. Yeah, this is where we need to make it, ship it to the normies. This is like,
I don't know if you remember, but at the last Dappcon, I think I was moderating the panel, you were on the panel, but we did a panel together about this very topic, about user experience. And it was,
what did I say?
I don't remember, but I think that, yeah, we've been talking about this for years, and it's getting a little bit better. I think the thing I used to say was, we need to look at the metric of like monthly active non-crypto nerds joining, right? And I think from the wallet side, like there has been some advancements. I'm a big fan of Zengo and like what they're doing with threshold signature, and I think cryptography is making it a lot easier for users to onboard. And of course, there's not like full custody, but it is better than like it's much better than like being on an exchange. And then on the other side, it's much better than having like worry about your seed phrase. So like cryptography is making it easier for people to build products that make it easier for people to end up using the final like crypto in general. And then I think like looking at ZK bridges and ZK VMs and how they're going to allow a lot of this, they're going to allow like this to be abstracted away. I think like in the end, like cryptography is actually a catalyst for a lot of great user experiences implemented properly and with the right sort of like interfaces.
Did I tell you that on Gnosis chain there's currently a pilot with 2,000 credit cards. They're real Visa credit cards. They have credit card numbers. They're backed with XDAI on Gnosis chain, and you can pay. Basically, you hold them yourself. So basically, the credit card is also a key. So it's also a hardware wallet. And you hold them yourself. No one has custody. So you know those crypto-backed credit cards. Usually the person who issues them, they always have custody. But basically with this credit card, you have custody, and you tap it on the Visa terminal, and there's a payment provider in between who kind of takes your XDAI, who converts it to US dollars or euros or whatever and pays and enters it into the Visa payment network. This is cool enough. But if the person you're paying also has one of those accounts on Gnosis chain, you would actually bypass the Visa system. So you would tap your credit card which is also your hardware wallet, and it would automatically just send it from one account to the other. And this is the kind of user experience that we need. This is what we need.
It's like augmentative user experience, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like you don't need to know how it works. So for instance, I don't know. So for instance, GPS, sat nav on your phone. You use it all the time. Do you know how special relativity kind of impacts the way that kind of the satellites kind of determine where you are? No, you freaking don't. It's like, and it just works. And this is kind of how I see trustless bridges. So basically, you shouldn't have to know about the trustless bridges. They should just be there. Basically, it should just work, and that should be the general user experience.
Totally. I don't know if you remember in Prague, I don't know what project made a video, a parody of the current situation. How is the process to onboard people? It's called a Lemon Coin. I really recommend that because it's a parody of all the process that you need to pass to.
We link to it in the show notes.
I think I remember this. Yeah.
It was in Prague, and it's like the full process that you need to follow to be able to use projects, and it was so fun. But the sad part is that we are in the same place. We have not improved anything of that, or that is the feeling that we are still asking users for hold their keys. They lose them. People doesn't realize that if you tell this word to someone, he can stole you. Even we have seen, we have saw in our channels people telling other ones that they are DappNode support, and they stole money from them. So people are, it's not just usability, it's education also, because I mean, I think in general, people that are outside this are not used to control keys, to be responsible of that, and we need to educate, and it's not just also usability.
This happened to me. Like, this still happens to me, where, for instance, I in the POAP app, it asks for an ENS name. I put my Argent ENS name, but Argent doesn't support Gnosis chain. And I didn't think about it. I was like, here, this is my ENS name, like the one that I use on my phone. So, and then I was talking to Patricio, and he says, well, getting those back is going to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I just remember at the very beginning, I used the Gnosis multisig, and it was very good at the moment, really secure. And then Gnosis Safe happened, and now the usability of a multi-signature wallet has improved a lot.
Also the gas. So basically, when we first created the multi-sig, like basically gas was not a thing. Basically, it was super cheap anyways. So basically, you didn't pay any attention to it. And I know that basically just probably about a year ago or something, I emptied our last multi-sigs, and then basically it was so freaking expensive. I paid like I paid just to get the funds out. I paid like $2,000 in gas or something just to get the funds out, to modern safe. It's like, oh. We
had the same situation. Same situation in the association. To move the funds from the old one to the new one was so expensive. But now, for example, you have Gnosis Safe in different networks with the same address. So that's...
Oh, no. So this is something, yeah. So generally the assumption should be, and this is something that basically is a big Gnosis Safe usability problem, that basically on EOAs you can kind of force that you can get the same address on different networks, and with a safe you can't. So basically there are some networks you can brute force it, but even then it's not easy. And there are some networks where basically if you send it to the same address, it's just gone. And we've actually had this. That basically large amounts of funds, like seriously, like stupid amounts of funds, like tens of millions, were sent to the wrong network because the person wasn't paying attention and didn't do a test transaction. It's like, I mean, it's on them for not doing a test transaction, but it's also on us a little bit because, it shouldn't be this easy to make a mistake. It's like...
That's usability at the end. Is if you have different addresses in different networks, it's crazy sometimes to use it. And also, for example, we only have ENS in one network, and unless you use centralized providers to translate it. And that's also another problem of usability, because you cannot tell someone your ENS name in one network, it's not going to be the same in the other one, or it's who knows.
Oh, you have to decide where the registry is, where you can update it, and so on. We're having an ENS bridge built to Gnosis chain with a gateway. It'd be nice, but yeah, it's all of it. I think there's so many usability questions, but but I think kind of onboarding people and kind of seeing where they go wrong and then fixing that, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, going back to the point, we need to improve the usability to get more people involved in this and to increase the decentralization. At the end, this is all about decentralization.
And I mean, this is also something that POAP does really well. I mean, they've minted 5 million POAPs. I mean, that's adoption. That's like, I mean, it's not quite like, I mean, it's not like Google, but I mean, it's not 5 billion people, but 5 million people in terms of your, for a Web3 project, that is massive.
Yeah, and
How do they do it?
looking at
It's
the
just
list,
super easy
it's
to make.
looking at the list of POAPs that people create. It's not all web stuff. It's like, hey, Jim's birthday, or what, like there's people using POAP that are not probably not like native crypto people or like people who come to conferences like this. Yeah,
and you can make
product.
it on your. So I was at a dinner last night, and we made a POAP for the people, just sitting there like between main course and dessert. We made a POAP and we distributed it to the people out there, and like 50 people redeemed it. And so basically now it's like all the 50 people who were at that dinner have a POAP from that dinner. And basically it was on the phone, like it was super easy to make.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and they have these they were selling these nice POAP cards here, NFC, and so you can put your POAP in here. And you guys want my POAP?
Yeah, I want a POAP. I met Sebastien in
Berlin.
September.
Okay.
Live stream POAP distribution here. Oh, this is cool. Anyway, yeah, so this is a cool thing too, like being able to
this has got
have
an
your
NFC thing inside. So
Yeah.
basically now it'll take me to we are minting your POAP.
Yeah.
Really nice.
So you've met Seb 3.0 in Berlin in September 2022.
Hmm.
Here you go.
Yeah.
And what's nice about this too is
It tells you how many people met you before me.
Yeah, but you can also put like your Telegram handle in the description, so you can kind of it's like a good way to share your Telegram handle too. So
I don't have.
no.
Really nice. This is
But
usually.
I mean, this was
invite more
$100, but
waiters. What?
It was $100, but
Okay.
I was like, that's
Yeah.
good.
So Zaki met you.
Yes, it was his first POAP too.
But he has 2 now.
Yeah, he has 2 now, but it was his first one.
And he met Patricio.
Yeah.
So basically it's like the golden 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a way of kind of displaying and curating your own like life experiences. I think this is also something that would benefit from a layer of ZK stuff on top, right? So basically, I mean, maybe I don't want everyone to see this is a fictitious example because I'm a boring mom, but say say I check into like KitKat or something, like maybe I don't want everyone to see that, but just the KitKat crowd. So it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's like
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of thing will come, and it's, I mean, for things like POAPs, but also for things just like your general financial privacy and transparency. Yeah. What do you guys expect is going to happen tonight?
A lot of fun here in the okay,
I think the merge is going to happen.
Yeah,
just
sure.
I mean, so basically they've tested it so many times.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think it's going to be okay. I mean, there's still so many different combinations of clients. I mean, because now you have 2 clients, right? So basically you have like the consensus layer and the execution layer, and in principle they should work in any combination. And I think basically
just for context here, there's 2 clients. There's a consensus and execution, and for each of those there's like 3 or 4 clients.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the combinations are
you get like 20 combinations or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so basically I think the worst that will happen is that one of these combinations will fail. I mean, what do you think? It's not going to?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, who knows, bro? maybe tomorrow I can answer that question, but I have the feeling that this has been tested several times in different networks. So I mean, I have a good vibe on that. Obviously, some edge cases can happen. This can always happen.
But even the test run, so basically, like there were always some small things that kind of didn't go exactly according to plan. So basically, I would be. I mean, we'll see. I think basically, all in all, it's going to be fine. It'll be completely fine. But basically, yeah, is it going to be without hiccups, Edu?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I remember during the Genesis, for example, I remember that I think it was Prism were not able to propose blocks or something like that. they release a fix in a couple of hours. We publish it, and everything started to work perfectly. The network worked, but was this kind of big fix that you need to do the night of the
So
launch.
I think in due time all combinations will work. I just think
Exactly.
that basically maybe not at on block one. So it's
Yeah, maybe suddenly you realize that one client is not working, but this doesn't mean that
This
the
doesn't
network
mean-
is not
so
working.
it means nothing bad for the network, but basically this is kind of the level of hiccup that I would expect. I wouldn't expect like for Ethereum to go down. So but yeah, it's
I mean, it's a real challenge. Maybe not all the people are realizing how hard is this, and the thing is so many pieces, it's so many technologies, so many clients, so many implementations, standards. I mean, it has been a lot, but it's a lot of work. But I have a very good feeling. Obviously, I totally trust on the development that has been done. So, I mean, from my point of view, we are in the middle from the point of view of DappNode because we are waiting if something happens. So we are nervous because of that. But indeed, the feeling is that everything is going to be, well, maybe some fixes, but the normal things that can happen.
yeah. I agree.
So what's next for Gnosis chain ecosystem, and except for this amazing credit card thing?
It's cool, right?
This is pretty cool. How does that work? How does the credit card also a hardware wallet?
It's from a company named Tangem, and
Okay.
basically it's like a key in a credit card. I mean, basically they've been around forever. So basically,
Yeah.
Status made them for a while, and so basically have card-shaped private keys.
As far as I know, they integrate the key on the chip, and they use the Visa protocol. And it seems that the Visa protocol has an empty payload. So they take benefit of that. They put the signature on that payload. So when you send to the reseller, if you are able to protect the crypto one, you protect the crypto one. Otherwise, you use the regular Visa. But I am not
Super
I
cool.
mean, I am not an expert on that.
Yeah,
That's the thing
I
that I
mean,
heard yesterday.
I don't know anything about the Visa protocol, but that's
Me neither.
Yeah.
And the Visa product. So basically, I learned a lot about payment providers in the last half year since we've kind of been working on this. And the payment stack, it's a mess. It's like a complete mess. There's like 20 companies you go through on a regular basis for whatever reason. And then basically, so basically the way that it's actually handled is basically the point of sale software. So basically there's companies who kind of handle the point of sale software. The company we're working with, they have 1 million point of sale terminals in Europe. So basically when you tap your credit card at, I don't know, your bakery or something, they may run this software. And this can be updated remotely. So basically that's kind of their part of the payment stack. And this is who we integrated
Okay,
with.
but they're building software that's like standardized across with like other payment softwares.
Yes.
Terminal, yeah. So like Ingenico or any of these other ones, like they all run by the same standards.
I assume they would have like the same standards, but obviously I don't know. It's like to me it's all like payment backend.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the payment stack, even though it's a mess, it's probably decently standard because like if you go to a place like Indonesia, they always have like 6 terminals.
Yeah.
And I think nothing works. But yeah, so coming back to Gnosis and the Gnosis chain ecosystem, what's really exciting and like what are you most excited about coming?
I'm excited about many things. So basically, one of the things I'm excited about is Maker v3 is coming to Gnosis chain very shortly. We still owe them some backend support. It's like but it's happening. And so basically there'll be. I mean, so in principle, I mean, it's a general purpose chain. So basically all the DeFi primitives and so are there. Very much not a DeFi first chain. So basically it's very much like a human-centric chain. So basically the Circles is on Gnosis chain.
UBI project.
It's a UBI project, like a decentralized web of trust based UBI project. I think fundamentally UBI is something that we'll need in the next couple of years if you want society to kind of keep existing in a nice fashion without, like escalating inequality and yeah. So kind of baking it into the protocol. It's not baked in, but it's kind of one of the core pillars of the things that are on Gnosis chain. So currently there's 200,000 accounts. And then, POAP is on Gnosis chain. That obviously also pertains to individual people. So basically, it's kind of your individual curated experiences. Then lots of DAOs are on Gnosis chain. There's like 1,500 DAOs.
And DAO tooling.
And DAO tooling.
Lots of DAO tooling.
Lots of DAO tooling.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the things we kind of made sure to build. So basically, make it as nice a place as possible for DAOs. Because basically, you have DAOs, you have people, that ties, well into each other. You can have things like, the things we've talked about forever, like joint stakeholdership in ventures and so on. You can distribute funds from DAOs to people by kind of having like group currencies with their web of trust issued circles and so on. So basically, there's really good ways to integrate all of these things. So basically, currently we are obviously, you guys know. So basically, we merged with XDAI, and XDAI was very much proof of authority. So there's like 21 authorities that kind of validate the network. And we have launched the proof of stake beacon chain, exactly the same as the Ethereum beacon chain. And that beacon chain now has over 100,000 validators. So basically, we will also have the merge, just like Ethereum. Just it's a mess because it's a different consensus, and it'll happen.
A slight difference between Ethereum and Gnosis that makes a little hard to make.
It makes it harder, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
sure. in the next weeks. So basically, then it will be the most decentralized network after Ethereum. So basically, Ethereum has 400,000 validators, Gnosis chain has 100,000, and where we think that this stake at home movement, it's important. This is also why we've partnered with Edu, just because it's, for claiming credible neutrality and permissionless innovation, you need to have a network that belongs to everyone, and something that belongs to everyone belongs to no one. It's like the credible neutrality of the base layer. I think this is kind of a virtue that we have lost over the last couple of years when people kind of scrambled to just build stuff. And I think this is something that we need to reclaim, like the cypherpunk 2022 movement. And basically this vibes really well with, like the tornado issues. We think privacy is a human right. So basically, we think kind of, if you look at how much privacy has been taken from us over the last 30 or 40 years, and it's only getting worse. So basically, all your payment data, basically, it's in principle. It's like banks are allowing people access to like the synthesized data of, and you're spending, and it's atrocious. I don't think this should be happening. So basically, you should be able to kind of,
opt out of that.
And basically, cash, which is kind of the untrackable form of money currently, this is being phased out. There's many places you can't pay with cash anymore.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So basically, kind of having and somehow it's been happening slowly. You know the story about the frog who kind of sits in a pot of water, and you apparently, it turns out it's bullshit. It's not true, but I think it's a good simile. So basically, this frog, it sits in a pot of water, and basically, if the water boils, obviously you put it in and it jumps out. But if you put it in the water and it's like nice and cozy, room temperature, and then you slowly increase the temperature, the frogs, it sits and it sits and it sits until it's dead. And this is how it turns out it's bullshit. Apparently the frogs, this is something that Greenpeace apparently made out to kind of
don't try it at home.
Greenpeace made this up for like an advert against climate change in the 90s. So basically, this
of
is
all
like,
people,
Greenpeace. Yeah. So but apparently it's not true, but for us it's true. So basically for us, basically
We are the frogs.
We are the frogs, and basically privacy has been stripped from us like one bit at a time. So basically like it used to be funny, right? Basically like people used to say, don't say this on the phone, otherwise, people will be listening. We now know, everything was being monitored, and somehow Ed Snowden is still the bad guy who is, in exile in Russia, and we're making it like this is no big deal. It's like, this is a freaking big deal. It's like, your privacy is yours. And yes, Tornado Cash was used by some bad guys, but it's a tool. It's a tool. We should all be using it. And basically, in a way, maybe integrating it so deeply into the protocol that everyone uses it, this will kind of remove the problem of kind of helping the terrorists, because basically terrorists will be like, 0.1% or something. They won't be there 50%, whatever. So yeah.
But okay. I don't know the actual numbers of Tornado Cash and how many criminals are actually using it, but this idea that crypto has been used by criminals and terrorists and is primarily used by criminals and terrorists is like it's a false idea, and it's a debunked idea.
But basically Tornado Cash did actually see quite, so basically it was basically if you looked at the numbers, so basically it was greatly exaggerated in the media, and I think in CoinDesk something said 80%, and basically there was a Chainalysis report that said like 30% or something. So I probably trust the Chainalysis report, but basically at some point, basically if it's like 99% bad guys and Vitalik, we have to ask ourselves, are we the baddies? And I think, no, we're not the baddies. So I think we just build technology where, there's a very obvious first adopter, because their need for obfuscation is larger. But, there's a very legitimate reason for obfuscating, and I have used Tornado Cash in the past. Basically, it's like I've used it mostly for the use case that I wanted a fresh address and I wanted to fund it with gas money. And I think this is what most people used it for.
Totally. If you want to send money to a friend without revealing how much you have, you need to use this kind of tooling. Otherwise, it's easy to track. So at the end,
or an exchange.
But that a centralized layer of obfuscation. People use. I know lots of people, and I have done this too. I've used Kraken that way. Kind of, let's pay.
Me too.
It's kind of.
I do too. Yeah.
It's kind of. I think they've removed that use case largely, because basically now you only have one pay-in address. You used to be able to generate as many pay-in addresses as you wanted, and now they no longer have that. So basically that's kind of like gone. But in principle, I think privacy tooling, we need this. Basically this is basically the skeleton technology here. Everything is public. Everything should not be public.
Exactly.
It's like everything should be trustless. Yes. Should everything be public? Absolutely not. So
totally. And for me, the problem is not the technology. The problem obviously is the people. For example, imagine that a terrorist use a mobile phone to put a bomb. Should we ban mobile phones because of that? Makes no sense, right? So at the end, the problem is not the technology, it's how we use it. So
it's security theater. It's kind of like, I probably end up on a no-fly list for saying this, but it's like the TSA, right? So basically, it's like I could think of so many ways of kind of smuggling like contraband and dangerous things on board, bypassing the TSA, because they're looking for bombs in shoes. It's like, and if you look at how much time it costs us and how unpleasant it makes the experience of flying. But it gives people the illusion of security.
Exactly.
And it gives control to the state. And somehow this is
you want to talk about illusion of security? That big lever on the escape hatch in the plane.
Yeah. What's with it?
Well, one way to take over a plane, I guess, would be to pull that big lever. It's right there in front of everyone. Well, I think we've touched on a lot of important points here.
I have one more point and it's kind of it's admittedly, seeing what we've talked about, in the past, hour or so, it's on the lighter side. But I wanna start a movement for like more age appropriate swag. So I feel like I've been aged out of the swag. So basically, I pass all of these boots, and like it's like neon colored hats that glow in the dark that basically you would wear to a rave. Like, just bring back the regular t-shirts, the tote bags. Yeah, we want this kind of swag. We want that swag pack.
Yeah, you're probably looking for like some I don't know, like what do you call it?
Like mommy swag,
like
Mommy swag.
like DappNode pacifier or kid bottle.
you will laugh. So basically, Gnosis employees and friends who actually who have kids, we send them a onesie with an owl with a pacifier, in the beak.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's like,
good.
and everyone loves it.
Yeah.
So no, I don't want that. But basically, I don't want a fanny pack either. I mean, it's kind of like
Regular one.
I know that the cool kids wear them. I know this. I see it all the time. Makes me feel very old. But to me, a fanny pack is something that, my grandma said you needed to take on holiday so you weren't robbed, on the dangerous Italian streets or something. It's like,
Yeah, now it's going to be, I think, 10 years next year that I've been in crypto, and I definitely feel like a lot of times I'm the oldest person in the room, and
OG, right?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think of it that way. Just it's like now there's people who are like, younger than I was when I came into crypto, who are like just getting into crypto, and yeah, there is a generational gap, I think.
And the thing
And
is,
also that shows you, like, the people who listen to Epicenter, like nobody under 30 is listening to Epicenter.
It's just true. If you're under 30 and you're listening to this, let us know on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like we'll get tweets saying like, my dad makes me listen to this.
So, should we wrap this up?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you both for
Welcome.
taking part in this, and yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of this live stream, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Coolio.